Hello, guys and gals, animal friends, and spirit pals. Welcome to the Spirit Whisperer channel. How you guys doing? I was going to come on. I was ready to go to bed. Then I just had an uncontrollable urging to come on and do a couple of quick tarot ticklings. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it with you guys, with me, right? So I turned on my old rinky-dink camera and microphone, and here we go. Now, those of you that'll be looking for my dog Alaska, she's asleep on the couch. I don't think she's going to come in here. She's been having a little bit of problem with her hips. She's getting older, and she's a big dog, and so she's got a little bit of achy hips. So I gave her a little bit for that, so she's resting in there. But she's fine. You can still see her fur all over her couch. It's a velvet couch, and of course, Miss White Coat gets all over it. But don't worry. Oh, and then, oops, I always do the wrong direction. There's the other one. She's pooped. She says, Daddy, it's awful late to be doing a video because it's 11 o'clock here, 4/25/2025. There you go. So here's what I was, this is what was kind of working on my brain cells and why I came on here. On Saturday, on my regular, live show that I do every Saturday at 4 o'clock Eastern on Spirit Whisperer channel. It's called Ask Anything Day, and that's where you can bring political questions, current event questions, really whatever you want on that day. And we'll present them to the guides and see what they have to say. But this last Saturday on it, those of you who didn't watch it, I was kind of compelled to look at, because again, the volcano earthquake energy's really been spinning around in my being. So I kind of wanted to look at that and talk to Spirit about it. And what came through on Saturday was that it was looking more likely that it would be multiple events, simultaneously, like right at the same time, but multiple volcanic eruptions, earthquakes. So they're grouping those together because for the most part, this, what feels like a swarm of energy coming in, it's related. So sometimes there might be an earthquake first, sometimes there might be a volcano first, and then an earthquake, but they're sort of tied in together. And Pan was saying most likely that was going to occur. And he was, the reason they were having me read on it then, because it seemed like it was coming. So then Sunday was pretty quiet, and I was just checking in, going, well, was that clear guidance? He said, yeah, because you'll start hearing about it tomorrow, because it's going to go ahead and start. So then ever since, all week, we've had multiple volcanic eruptions and many earthquakes. I saw something like in a 24-hour period, there was something like, was it 92 major earthquakes around the world in 24 hours? Some, don't quote me on the numbers, but it was a lot in one day period. And, and so the volcanoes have been continuously going off, like at Mount Etna in Italy, Kilauea, Hawaii, was it in Costa Rica? There's another one going off. So they were all going off like in the same time frame, and just one after another after another. So I said, "Oh, do you mean like this?" And he said, "Yes, uh, but more than that." He goes, "Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, but um, an even bigger display." So I wanted to check in with the cards and see if that energy is going to be reflected in the cards. That perhaps that's kind of the beginning of it, and that we might look for that to continue and increase. Um, and what's going on with that. My sense is that it will. So my question is, when we're looking at the Mother Nature's energy, particularly with earthquake and volcano, how's that energy looking between now and May 1st? Let's just do that short of a period. So that's like, a week. So, after he talked to us, we did that read on Saturday. I, of course, this always happens. So I'll do a reading, and then I'll turn on the internet, and there'll be a story about earthquakes. So there was a story about the Ring of Fire and how the whole ring has seemed very active. So I read that right after he told me that. So that's kind of what he's talking about, in the Pacific. And even way back in the beginning of last summer, he talked about the Pacific volcano activity. So if I just get quiet and look, I don't like to really say it, but or it's not to really make people afraid, but it's kind of give you a heads up if indeed it pans out. But it does seem like more shaking on the West Coast. Not just there, but I do see it there, and like pretty big, but not so much in the center. More like south on the West Coast, but it could be up, Mexico. I get a hit, even like Nevada, sort of in that whole area. So kind of more inland a little bit in southern, in the southern California area. But then also northern shaking. But again, kind of above San Francisco. So, although I think they'll be shaking, like in San Francisco and Los Angeles, that doesn't seem to be the pinpoint, or what is it, the epicenter. I kind of get more southeast in this Los Angeles kind of area, kind of going more towards, San Diego, Mexico, and then a lot more energy north of San Francisco, like as we get up into Washington, Oregon, Canada. And I agree that Alaska is going to have some big event, and kind of going on around, Asia, like that. So the point is, I think it's just started. It's been going, the whole, all summer, it's been going, ongoing. But it's building. And I still feel there's a crescendo to come. We haven't reached the crescendo. Now tonight, when I was thinking about it, before I decided to get up and do the reading, I kind of got that, like a crescendo in which the world kind of stops, catches its breath to look, to pay attention. We'll see. That sounds very dramatic, but That's what I was feeling. Okay, let's see what the cards say about between now and May 1st as far as that energy goes. Okay. Okay. All right. Gosh, my eyeball's itching off. What's going on? It's like I have an eye bug in there. That looks a lot like about earthquake energy. I'm wondering also, how about the energy of the eruptions? Is that going to continue? This seems like, yeah. Okay. Right. So there's that. I'm going to do a couple from another deck. So when I look at, I don't know why my eye is itching so bad. Excuse me, guys. It won't let me stop scratching it. What's happening? Come back to me. Um, this energy looks very rocky. So it doesn't say, oh yeah, it's going to calm down between now and then. Now, it looks more like continuing. But I'll show you exactly the cards just a minute. I'm going to pull a couple. That first deck I used is called Before Tarot. It has these flowers on the back of it. There's one deck called After Tarot, one called Before Tarot. So I decided to use the Before, just on the spur of the moment. And now I'm using Tarot at the End of the Rainbow. Get a little bit more energy. Let's see here. All right. Well, boy, I'm like itching and stuff from head to toe. What does that mean? Itching to bitching or itching and twitching? Everything's itching. Give me guidance on the energy of the volcanoes and earthquakes. Okay. Well, I can see, I don't have to draw any more cards, that we're saying, yeah, okay, well, didn't leave much to the imagination from there. So, it's interesting. So, like I said, every time I look at the internet, there's a different story about a different volcano going off somewhere else in the world. So when I last these first cards about the energy of the upcoming week, it's still a little at odds. There's the Strength card, but there's that roaring lion, and you might think of her as like the temperance angel or peace and temperance. It's kind of like two forces coming together, but there's static in between them. So like, movement, like he's growling and everything between the two bodies. So you might think of that like between the plates, tension, um, not getting along. So, it's a little rough meeting there. Five of Swords. Yeesh. Again, not really getting along, opposing energy, on opposing sides. So this seems to be talking about earthquake energy, because then I get the King of Pentacles, the King of Earth. So it looks like there'll still be attention to the earth and the earth movement. That five, that not staying stable. And in the middle of that, we get the Hierophant. So that makes me think there's might be necessary for like a call to aid or a call for assistance. You might need the government to step in or something. Like the government's needed. And what I'm reading about is, volcanoes and earthquakes. So like that the government might have to be called or be involved or something like that. And then I remember in the middle of that I said, yeah, okay, I see there's a lot of earthquakey energy, but is it going to be involving, the volcanoes? So this is the message they're giving me about that. Number one, yes. So here's the Page of Wands. Now, if I wanted to divide them into elements, the wand would be the element of fire. And so here's, can I please get it together here? Here's the, like the fire shooting up from the earth. But also it's a page. So it's a young squirt. It's a young, it'd be so nice if this would focus. I'd love it. What the hell? What the heaven? There we go. It's a young sprout. So that makes me think, it doesn't have to be young in years, but it's a newer, look at those mountains behind him, like volcanoes. It's a newer, like it might have been around, look at that old hieroglyphics. It's been here forever, but this sprouting will be new, seems new. So it's right next to the guy asleep. So that makes me think there's likely to be, like even in this coming week, one that hasn't come exploding. A new one coming to the, waking up out of sleep. Out of sleep. Oh, damn it. I'm having a hard time tonight with my cards. Getting up out of a dead sleep to squirt. So we got that Page of Wands, but then we also got the Two of Wands. So it's a new beginning. It's interesting because in both of these wand cards, we got these mountainy looking things in the background that look like, volcanic mountains. And they're right around the ocean. There's the ocean in the middle. So like that ring of fire energy. But this makes me think, yeah, those ones that are going off are going to continue, like in Hawaii and Italy, all those that we named. But there's likely to be new ones joining in. New in that they haven't gone off in a really long time, like the one in Alaska. Or even, and that one hasn't been that long, but ones that are even more unusual, not suspecting. So we'll see. That all feels like this will continue, uh, at least through the next, week. Um, so we get the high priestess upside down. But, this card is just trying to remind us that it is a part of the natural progression of things. Um, Sometimes we don't know exactly why things are happening, but there is a higher power to it. There's some kind of unseen direction here with this High Priestess card. We don't always know exactly what's happening, but this makes me think of, how when you have an egg timer or some an hourglass and you flip it, and so it's like it has to flip to rebalance. So the bottom comes to the top goes to the bottom, like a rearranging of energy. And then next to that upside down High Priestess is the Queen of Wands. So again, this fiery, earthy, the element of fire. I would say on behalf of Mother Earth, because it has this feminine effect. But again, these cards keep pointing towards, um, you know, more of the same and then some. So then I went to my other deck that's interesting because it's not really a Rider Waite. So I'm asking again about the earthquakes and the volcanoes in the next upcoming week. Again, it's talking about multiple at the same time. So affecting people of different parts of the world. Like it could be people in Asia. It could be people in North America. It could be people in the islands. More island people, or Europe, something like that. But it's definitely different places. And I'm going to say happening at the same time because they're all on the same body, but we're seeing it from these different faces at the same time. This card pretty much demonstrates that message that them going on simultaneously at different places in the world. And this is what, and so people witnessing it. There may be some evacuating. I know there's already been some. And they've been preparing to evacuate, like in Alaska. But here's all the luggage, everything packed at the door, ready to go. Things being a little mix mash, a little topsy turvy, a little upside down. Look, it's almost like what's brewing and what's stirring underneath. You have to turn upside down to see it, but it's under there stirring up. And then we get the delete button upside down, so it makes me think, yeah, I'm not going to be able to stop it. It's in process. It's going to continue. We won't be able to stop it. It's kind of gone past the stop button. There's going to be some kind of an event, like as far as I can feel, natural event that's quite surprising. And So this is upside down. But again, all around the world. It feels like it affects everybody. You know, like I said before, it might feel like the world has to stop to look. It stops. It's enough that we stop for a minute. Um, Reassess what's important. That's what it looks like to me. And it shows that weird circle with different locations, showing up. These cards are, definitely read from the picture cards. It's interesting, the ones that are coming out. And so then I'm still looking at it, the same question. What's the energy looking like in the next week with this volcanic and earthquake? Why in the world can I talk tonight? I think it's too late. I get anxiety. So there's chewing your fingernails. There's cause for a little anxiety. And then the last card I pulled, and I said, okay, I'm going to stop, is this one, which looks like what? Yeah, I know it looks a little bit like a bomb, but it also looks like a volcanic eruption with the ash cloud, and there's lava in the bottom. So, what do you guys think from that? Especially these cards. I actually have a few decks of these that I'm going to give away here pretty soon, if anybody likes these cards. I bought a few extra decks to give away. But that seems to say, yep, there's probably more of that to look. You might not be surprised if something in that realm happens. Or really just continue like it's going, only then some. Okay, so while we're looking at sort of disastrous, uncontrollable, spewing, gassy energy, let's look at who? The Oompa Loompas energy in the next week. How's that going? Could we hope for an explosion there? Maybe a gastric explosion, unlike anything we've ever seen. The lava flows from all the orifices, spewing all over the White House. We receive the sad news. Ding dong, the witch is dead. All right, that was dark. So let's see about his energy. How's that going? Okay. Well, I can only hope. Let's see, what's his energy doing in the next week? The old smoky, gassy menace. First card he gets is the Tower. He gets that a lot. But it's an awful strong tower because it's taken it a while to tumble. Okay, let's put a couple of these cards for him as well. So his coming week starts with the Tower and ends with the Five of Wands. It's a pretty ghastly looking Five of Wands. Fighting fiery beasts. And this is like fire ants. Which, I don't know, he might have to even pay attention to a volcano happening. Okay. So his energy in the next couple, the next week looks a little rambunctious. So first of all, he gets the tower. So there's like it's that kind of energy. Things are falling down. Um, his ivory tower isn't as strong as he thought it would be. We've got this before for him. It's just continuing to crumble. Even though, we don't get a lot of reporting on it, it's a little bit because, the media is in cahoots, so you can't really trust on that. And also, it gets the King of Wands, but we're going to look at the picture more than anything. This whole deporting people and not working. It's it's another sword in his back of his own doing. So there's more of that in this week about aliens, quote unquote. Just not only in our country, but just people in different countries. It also looks like there could be some Americans who need help because of some fire or volcanic energy and are seeking help. So, like, it's like, get out of my way, I'm trying to get through, but it's a big crowd. It's that thing of like it feels like if what I'm feeling occurs, it's not something that's easily ignored or it's hard to make it seem like something it isn't. It also looks like there's more exposure coming. More exposure coming for him. Love it. It's the Sun card, but look, running as fast as he can. He's on train wheels because he's a little child. The monsters are after him. They're about to get him. There's the sun shining the light. So in this case, that Sun card is illuminating, shining you. He's trying to get away from it. Help! And here he is, kind of in the midst of fighting the fire ants, the Five of Wands. Again, too, it's interesting because in this picture, it's more like what we might think of like farmers or day laborers, kind of like that in the pictures. Um, People that he likes to call, even though they're Americans, but because their skin is a different color, he treats them differently. But this looks like people being affected by the fire ants, by the volcanic energy, needing help. And I feel like there's this reach out that would normally happen in any kind of a, disaster, and he don't quite know what to do about it. What a surprise. So seeking help, but so here's that Three of Pentacles. Who are you going to work with? He's aligned with the devil, so he's not really concerned. Even here on the picture on the wall, back here, it's the same. There they are fighting the fire ants. Those same people. It's that same card up here on the wall. Like, yep. I'm busy, drawing pictures of my, my Lord and Master. I don't have time for the fire ants or anything like that. I'm consumed over here. So if I look at all that together and try to make it more sensible, it feels like a tower-like moment that happens that he can't ignore. He might try, but it's too hard to ignore it. It looks like it could affect actual citizens, Americans, even if you don't call them that or whatever, but they are. And there needs to be assistance, and it's like there isn't any, or yeah, not answering the phone, or I'm so busy I can't be bothered, kind of a thing. Or trying to downplay it or act like, yes, I don't know, but it feels like it gets him into some kind of more hot water, thank goodness. So, and it, so he's having to look at a hole in the ground. Again, the cards only have so many pictures, but this looks again like, uh-oh, energy in a hole in the ground. And, oh no, look at all this ash falling. What are we going to do about that? There's ash, there's fire, there's lava, there's a whole mix-max happening from this hole in the ground. We need help. Look at that. There's like the foods, the necessities. They're also impacted by this ash and all this mess of everything that's happening all at once. Even like here we got the cracks in the earth too. So all that creates a big old nightmare. And we're looking for help, but it's been unplugged. So like the normal things that would be right there, it takes them longer or something. There's like somebody's been screwing with the wiring and the process, and so it doesn't work because it's not plugged in. Meanwhile, he's just left saying, be calm, and he stays calm with this little drug packet. So he kind of stays removed. It's as if it's not happening. So what do you guys take from that? I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I'm looking at that. I do see that, that volcanic energy in his reading as well. Like, something demanding his attention and him refusing to give it, and that not faring well. So when we get to May 1st, I'm just going to pull a couple more cards. How's his energy looking? Everything's going for him. I can't wait for it to implode. Quote the Raven, nevermore. I don't know. Let's see. Despite the idea that, he had doctors look at him, supposedly, of course, he's a fine specimen. I don't buy it. Okay. So, we get the Five of Swords and the Four of Swords. So, That Five of Swords is that being at odds. You know, it's also a little bit of bullying energy, but it's, in this case, it looks like the bullier being bullied a little bit, like kind of getting some of it back. It leaves him feeling not so well, like sickly. He needs to lay down. He can't be bothered with helping others. Here's that King of Cups. There's none of that energy with him. He has no energy to give to others. And he might even say, I'm too sick to help. So that don't look great either. That looks like that he also might not be feeling so good physically. There might be some kind of little setback, like where he's having some kind of health issue, and there's also sort of, a big event of some sort. That could be some other event. I don't know, but my attention, the universe just keeps having it focus, on the earthquake and the volcano. Even though I'll say I don't really want to look at that. It just, it keeps coming up. So that's why I wanted to read on it again. If nothing else, if some big event happens, we can say, well, Pan told us that. Or we can say, phew, that didn't happen. Thank goodness. Mark or Pan was crazy. All right. I'm going to do one more. Just going to pull 3 cards for us. Beautiful light workers that I have gathered here with me. All you little gorgeous men's and women's is. My beauties. My lovelies. My buddies. My life force. Let's see if the tarot wants to give us any kind of guidance for this last week in April. Okay, what's on the bottom? Yeah, right there. This is a message for us light workers. Can you give me one more card? What's that card? Oh, okay. Alrighty. Well, so it's saying for us, there's likely to be some up and down and some back and forth energy going on. So it's kind of going along with the rest of it. We're gonna be right there in it. So a little bit of this is the 6 of coins. So earth, element of earth energy. It's not all even Steven. It's kind of up and down. The scales can be rocking. There'll be a little give and a little take. So that just shows, I'm going to say, movement in the earth back and forth. They're also saying, though, no matter, keep our focus on the outcome we're seeking. That calmer waters ahead. Keep focused on the rainbow ahead. That's where we're headed. We're looking to the rainbow after the storm. Okay? So don't let go of that. That's your vision. That's your goal, right? We're likely to, it's possible, we'll be witnessing some loss, maybe, in this last week. You know, bearing witness. It's not losing everything, but definitely things are spilled out, knocked over, and we see it. It definitely changes our perspective along with everyone else. It kind of makes us stop and re-examine or examine things from another perspective. There's the hangman. Mm-hmm. And I think it kind of, we're forced to look at that element of fire, those things in a different light. So we realize that, you think everything's going one way, but it can go a completely different way. You just never know what's around the corner. And that we might end up having to defend ourselves a little bit against these stinging, fiery wands that might be jumping up and appearing. So there's a need to focus on it, defend ourselves from it, pay attention. It's going to get our attention. It's the wands, so that's the element of fire, are going to be pretty burdensome. Present themselves in a cluster. So, this is a bouquet of wands. So you might pick them from different gardens. So again, I keep getting that same energy about, there was a while when I was wondering about, is it going to be like some kind of big super volcano, or, there's that talk, but I don't know. It's feeling more like multiple at the same time, which hopefully that's better. I don't really know, but that's what it feels like. Hopefully I'm way off, or that it's sometime way in the future, but for whatever reason, I felt like I need to share that tonight. We'll hope that it's just my imagination, and there is no volcanic energy, or no volcanoes, or earthquakes to come between now and May 1st. But anyway, so I kind of put myself out there, put myself on record, me and my guides, and we'll see what comes of it. I probably wouldn't have gone farther, except all through this week, literally every time I went to my computer to do emails, or, get ready for a private reading or whatever it was, every time I turned it on, there'd be a new, oh, this volcano is exploding, or, oh, 6.4 earthquake, or, oh, 6.8 earthquake, or, oh, 7.2 earthquake, oh, this volcano just erupted, oh, we're preparing to evacuate because it looks like, so every single day since he told us that on Saturday, it was just another report. So that's why I kind of wanted to look at it again. And plus also, because Pan was saying, yeah, I mean like that. That's what I'm talking about. But that's like the precursor. It's likely to be building to a bigger demonstration. All right, guys. Hope that was okay. I hope you found it, if nothing else, it's entertaining and distracting. Okay, I love you. And if you see this, that means I decided to upload it. All right, bye bye. Till next time.